This episode of A Rays of Living is about decisions, aptly titled Decision-Making Beasts. Some decisions are easier than others. Decisions are time-boxed, meaning they are done at a specific point in time. And just as important to understand is the fact that making no decision is a decision. This reinforces the point in time reality. You can only make a decision based on what you know at the time of the decision and the environment surrounding the circumstances of the decision and around you. Real estate is a perfect example of that. We can invest in real estate, predicting certain things, but whether or not they pan out as we predicted them is really the test of time, test of economics, test of circumstances, test of your risk tolerances, and a test of your finances. And what is amazing is that humans, because of this amazing thing called their brain, are wired for decision making, hence decision-making beasts. This episode is not about necessarily the type of decisions. It's about decisioning. It's about the fact that we as humans, in moving through our life journey, the only thing we have are the decisions that we make, the decisions that we choose to make, and the decisions that we will stand behind. After all, decisioning is not just about making a decision. It's about backing and supporting that decision in whatever way is needed. Our life journey is based on the decisions we make and the decisions we will make. And here's the thing, we are accountable for the decisions we make. What decisions are you facing that you're not making? What decisions have you made that have taken you to where you are now? And what decisions can you make now to further your circumstance or to change your circumstance? Now let's talk about how choice differs from decision. Most people, including myself at one point, considered that choice and decisions were synonymous. It would be easy to think that choice and decisions are synonymous. But at this point in my life and from my current mindset and perspective, they are not. We are presented with choices and we apply the process of decisioning to choose one or more of the options presented for the choosing. Did you get that? Do you want me to repeat it? We are presented with choices and we apply the process of decisioning to choose one or more of the options presented for the choosing. And choosing an option is a choice. Not choosing an option is a choice. Getting good at assessing options and choosing the best one in the now is a necessary life skill to master. Best is the key word in mastering the skill. So let me repeat in case you missed it. Getting good at assessing options and choosing the best is a necessary life skill to master, where best is the key word in mastering that skill. And what is best really should aim at what you are aspiring for. Except many of us look at best different from that. Think of the abuser-abused situation. A choice to stay is a decision where best factors in the abuser or the children or the livelihood, and so on, of course. Choosing to leave is deciding that you must factor into the decision where best redirect to an abuse-free future and a life aspiring greater than the now, right? So again, I'm going to repeat because I don't want you to miss these things. So when an abused individual chooses to leave, they are deciding that they must now factor into the decision where best redirects to an abuse-free future and a life aspiration greater than their now. Choice and decisioning are powerful tools we have. They're critical things we are in control of as we journey through life. Isn't that amazing? Handing them off to others is actually disempowerment. You are giving up your power over your life when you hand the decisioning over to others. And I can agree, and we all know that when we were children, decisions were made on our behalf. But when we become adults, we are accountable to forge ahead, making the decisions for ourselves. So with that in mind, how do we play with choice and decisioning as an individual, as a partnership, a coupling, As a family, a team, a company, what process or processes gets used? I am here to prescribe the how, or rather, I'm not here to prescribe the how. I am here to give alert that there are many types of decisions, some harmless and others more impactful to our life. And we have to decide on what our decisions, especially the impactful ones, will be based on to be considered as the best possible one in the now, at the current point of time. I think this is where I highlight we've gone full circle, right? Because we started that decisioning is a point in time thing. But look at how we came around to the point in time is the present, is being in the present, looking at the information that you have at your disposal, looking at the circumstance and environment with which you're in, and making a decision with you factored in based on your dreams, your aspirations, and where you wish to go. And perhaps in some cases, what you need to leave behind or wish to leave behind. So I'm a parent, and I can tell you that parenting is all about making one decision after another. And it starts with the decision to have a child. It starts with the decision to have a child. Then you decide to raise the child. Then you decide to do the best you can for that child, or even the decision that you are not ready to have a child is a decision. And sometimes we make decisions unfair or in an emotional state, which is the worst type of decision to make, or the worst time to make a decision. You really should try to make a decision informed, calm, and non-emotional with a practical lens on it. And for some decisions, you look at risk. Some people are more risk tolerant than others. And all of these things factor into decisions. Now, the harmless decisions that we make without even thinking is getting up in the morning. Getting out of bed in the morning is a decision. Going and bathing is a decision. Which clothes to put on is a decision. How you want your hair to look is a decision. What makeup to put on, what lipstick to put on. These are all decisions, and usually they're harmless decisions. So we don't think about them the same way. But the really impactful key decisions, we don't seem to make sometimes. And sometimes those key decisions is about what you want for your life. Where do you want your life to be? And if you're not where you need to be, what decisions are you not making that would get you there? One of the things I find interesting is the different approach taken for personal versus business decisions. Personal decisions tend to be more emotionally based than business ones. Business decisions are usually aimed at forward movement. You go into business, and we all say and we all hear we go into business to make a profit. In order to make a profit means you have to move your business forward. That's all very logical. And because it's logical, we immediately get into gear to make the forward moving decisions. And it's not everybody does sometimes, but that's what we should be doing in business. But why do we take a different route then for personal decisions? Why do we make personal decisions emotional? Why can't we put on the same hat as the business aspect of things to say we need to make decisions that will move us forward, and we need to make a profit or make our life wealthy, healthy, happy? And if we took on that lens, wouldn't we make different decisions than we do now? Wouldn't we take the decisions that we don't make, that we should make and we could make and really need to make a little bit more seriously? So business decisions are definitely aimed at forward movement, but personal decisions, not so much. And I know I may get protests for saying that. So know that I am by no means suggesting this is the case for everyone, right? Come on now. I literally do apply common sense. When I'm doing these podcasts, when I'm thinking about what I'm going to say to you, when I'm thinking about how I will trigger you to take a move, to take an action, to reflect, to change your perspective slightly, not drastically. But if you're here, the perspective just needs to change slightly in order to get you to move forward. And all of us, myself included, can say we have made decisions that did not move us forward. So come on now, be honest with yourself. It's only go in a room where it's only you and be honest. Look in the mirror and be honest with yourself. Think about the course that you didn't take. I think about the courses I didn't take that would have propelled my career or my mission quicker, further, earlier, right? What about the dreams we deprioritized and we did not pursue? That was a decision. Now, again, this episode is not to explore the motivations or lack of leading to the decision, because we all know that they include things such as fear, limited beliefs, self-sabotage, and on and on and on we can go. We know all about self-talk. I'll do it later when, except when never comes. I will remind you that not choosing is a choice, leading to no decision, which is a decision. Isn't that amazing how that works? And sometimes those outcomes of our choosing are emotionally based decisions. Many times, in fact, probably more so than not, and more so personal than in business. That difference in mindset that allows us to take a different approach with our decision making in business is what I find rather interesting. After all, you are you, and I'm me, and Jen is Jen, irrespective of anything, or at least I should be. So why would my decision-making process, why would my lens on decisioning, on making choices and choosing change from in my personal life to my business life? Keep in mind, my practice philosophy and platform is that as long as you are the person you are, meaning Jen is Jen, you are you, whether I'm looking at things on a personal level or looking at things on a business level, professional or career level, at the end of the day, I'm still me. It's still Jen. I still have things that I will uphold and will not uphold. I have values that I will pursue and live by. I have morals. I have foundations. I have boundaries I will not cross. Those things are there whether I'm at home or whether I'm in the company or whether I'm, putting on my CEO hat or whether I am just being Jen. Those foundations don't change. So it's the same. So why do we make excuses and make decisions that go against our value system in business sometimes, and we put emotion on the decisions in our personal life? Why is that? That's why I find it interesting when we can make really good decisions in business and make lousy decisions in personal life. That was always one of the things that fascinated me about this classic soap opera. Yes, I said soap opera. Can you believe it? And yes, I would sit and watch them when visiting my grandmother. And I remember this soap opera, Another World, which had a character called Mac that ran his own company. He had done really well in business, and Mac kept making really lousy decisions personally, but made amazing decisions, money-making decisions in business. And that disconnect is what I now call fragmented living. And it's certainly not adhering to what I call divintastical intent and divintastical living. That means decisions need to harmonize with our overall satisfaction and contentment. Making decisions away from your core values and core ambitions usually ends in regrets and health-related matters, outcomes, and crisis. And in that same soap opera, Another World, Mac, who was played by Douglas Watson, was married to Rachel, who was played by Victoria Whitcomb. My apologies if I messed up your last name. I am going to digress a bit, though, so bear with me, because it wouldn't be a good podcast if I didn't, would it? And I really need to say this. I am not into soap operas. Never was, but my gran was. And it was an easy bonding thing to do. And trust me when I said my gran and I needed bonding moments. And this was one of them. I would come, she'd be watching her stuff. She'd end up telling me all of the storyline that's going, and I'll sit down and I'll watch. Now, in terms of Another World, I always liked how Rachel would sit at the kitchen table and actually shell those green peas. And she'd do it with, say, her mother or other friends that dropped by. And the table and that kitchen setting seemed to always be where she tried to resolve one life crisis after another. But that kitchen table, those scenes were really quite familiar and comforting for me. My mother loved to cook. The kitchen was the hub of, the females gathering, cooking, trying different things, tasting, all of that. So even the shelling of the peas and the picking of the rice and all these sort of things were, very comfort times for me. And then it was even rang home when on another world, they would eat the shelled peas or the beans they were preparing as they chatted. Uncooked, they would just eat them. And it was such a familiar thing for me. And so it was comforting to see. Now, getting back on track, when we fragment ourselves into parts, then the home Jenn or the home you versus the business Jenn or the business you or the professional person, we tend to feel stretched. And that ends up causing all sorts of cascading impacts in our lives. And my philosophy is we need to live as one united person. We need to make our decisions based on that one united person, based on the values, the morals of that one united person. Because there's only one me, one unique me, and the same goes for you. There's only one magnificent, unique you. There's only one of you, and you've got to fulfill the essence of who you are, whether personal or in business or in professional careers. And the fulfillment of that is through the process of making decisions. Now, we can argue, we can present that there may be some exceptions to that. There's always exceptions. So yes, that's not a hard and 100% thing. For example, split personalities, and they do exist. And even then, each personality has their own traits and habits. If you don't believe me, go and grab a book on cases of split personalities, and you will see that it's documented that they have their own traits and habits. I've even been told that some have different eye colors. How cool is that? How amazing is the human body? I'm telling you, decision-making beasts. So decisions are for self-care. Decisions come for our life. Decisions for a satisfying, fulfilling career or business. Whatever endeavor you choose to be your career, whether it's entrepreneurialism or it is working for someone else, it doesn't matter. It still comes on the basis of making a decision. And the outcomes of making those decisions is to try to get it to where it becomes fulfilling, because there's one you at the end of the day. And if you live fragmented, you're creating more issues in your life than not. And it becomes not a simplistic life. I know I was there at one point. I would do a 360-degree turn on my head to go home, to be a parent, to be a spouse, to be a mate and a partner. And I am telling you, there is fundamental difference between that type of living and living as one, where you are unified, you are balanced in who you are, and you want and what you want and the things you're going after. There's a balanced perspective to it. And the tool for doing that is the decisioning process. Decisions to be surrounded by people that support you. Decisions to simplify your life. Decisions to manifest your life in some way and be purposeful and intentional in living your life. There's even the decision to lead with love. That was one decision I made. Those are my 3 key words that I live by. Lead with love. That's a decision. And at this point, I know you get the point. So I won't go on any further. Whatever circumstance you are facing, whatever action you are taking, whether conscious or unconscious, you are evaluating your options and using a decisioning process to choose something, then using a decisioning process to determine next steps, and on and on and on. And many times we do what we do without even thinking. And this brings us to another 360 circle. Humans are decision-making beasts. We're built for it. We've got the brains for it, and we do it over and over and over on a daily basis, each and every day, week after week. We make decisions and we make choices. And as decision-making beasts that we are built and the way we are built, we simply have to learn how to consciously choose the options that move us forward and take a firm, unapologetic decision to advance. And on that note, in listening to this episode, what decisions will you now make? Thank you for listening to this episode of Arrays of Living. And please be sure to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. You will also find in the description below my email address should you want to reach out, and I am happy if you do. And just to be sure, it's jen@youareworthmore.co, and worth more you definitely are. And lastly, also see the link that will allow you to schedule a meet and greet with me. And that's an opportunity for me to meet you and you to meet me, and for us to have a chat. And that would be wonderful and welcoming. So please hit the link and let's set up a meet and greet.